I have never been on the other side of a StreamYard. You know what, right?
Because you're always the host, right?
I'm always so I'm like, these things are popping up, and I'm like, what is this?
What am I?
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Yeah, always the host, never the guest, right? Look, okay, look, let me, because he always want to put people on. Let me put y'all on. Come on, let's do this one right here. Let's get
Yep.
that's us. Hey, y'all, we are back, y'all. We're surviving the shift. How y'all doing? It's been a rough.
It has. And there has been so much going on. And I think that collectively, everybody is beginning to feel the weight of what's happening. You know, whether you want to or not, I think the only way not to feel it is to completely turn off all your social medias. Don't look at any news. Don't talk to anybody. And who can do that? So I think collectively, whether you're a for profit business or a nonprofit or whatever, just being a person living in the United States right now, we're all feeling the weight.
And I have tried to turn it off. I'm like, okay, I ain't gonna do this today. And then
Mhm.
it's like in my face. So I'm like, okay.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
then
mhm.
I want to stay in the know. So I want to know what's going on
Right.
because we have to know what's going on,
Exactly.
just to help you guys to survive the shift. We can't be over here. Like I just feel like, oh God, like what? But it's kids.
Yeah,
What, Tracy? What I wanted to and I know you formerly taught in the school system.
I do.
And so like for the last couple of days, we've been hearing about the desire from this administration to dismantle the education department. And I know you got other stuff to talk about, but I want to talk. I want to hear like because you'll tell it like it is. I want to hear in this whole school choice thing and what we both homeschooled, done all
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but what does that mean? Like, what happens?
So let me first say this, right? About, I want to say 7, maybe 8 years ago, I put up a post on Facebook. I can't even find it. I need to find it. And I said that public school should not be totally free. And that's just how I feel, right? And when I say it shouldn't be totally free, I'm a strong believer in that you shouldn't give people things for free, that they should have some type of buy-in. I don't care if it's 25 cents, if that's all they could afford. There's 2 pennies to rub together. They need to pay for what they want, right? So when I say public school shouldn't be free, I worked at a Title I school. And initially, when I started working, even when I was going to school, we would have workbooks, like the reading workbooks or whatever. And your parents had to pay for those workbooks,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your education was free, but the workbooks, because they were a big cost to the school system, you used to have to pay for them. So you were holding on to this workbook for dear life because your mother is not giving you another $20 or whatever it is to buy this workbook, right? So I remember in my last days, my last year or two of teaching, they changed that because parents were in an upheaval. Oh, this is public school. It should be free, blah, 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 blah. So when I said that, that was the statement that I was coming from. Like, you should pay for something, your gym clothes, something. You're going to school. It shouldn't completely be free. And of course, people argue. They tore me up in the comment section. They were mad at me. Oh my God. They were so mad. They were like, what about you think about anything derogatory? They came at me with. And I was just like, I said what I said, and this is what it is. Okay. This is how I feel. We can have difference of opinions, but you're not going to change my mind. And one of the main reasons that I said that was because of this. I already saw the shift then towards moving from a completely free public school system to the school choice and to all of the other things. I saw them trying to take away Title One. And that was my entrance. Maybe I didn't do it in the right way for people, but it was in me telling them, hey, you need to start thinking that there's a possibility that you're at some point in time going to have to pay for public school
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want you as educated as you are. Like Black women like to go out here, we the most educated population,
And they
right?
like shut
And you're like, oh,
up.
okay, take that down.
I know what to do about that right there,
Exactly. And
right?
that's where it starts. And I saw it happening where they wanted us to move from just teaching because we went to college to learn how to teach and teach to scripting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an actor. I'm not coming and reading a script off every day. There were some school systems that when you walked to the gate, you got your lesson plan for the day with your script. It
Mm-hmm.
has been changing for a long time and people just did not want to see it. I was on the board for the Common Core. My district decided to bring in Common Core, so I was the English language arts department chair at the time. So I had to sit into a lot of those things. I was just like, oh, oh, this is what we're doing. This
Mm-hmm.
is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, this is like what Common Core has been around for like 15, 12, 15 years at this point. It has not worked.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are no smarter in math, science, none of it. We brought in stream. Well, I like to call it stream. We brought in stream and STEAM. The
Mm-hmm.
kids are no smarter
Mm-hmm.
for it. Okay, we brought in these specialized. Sorry, I don't want to co-opt the conversation, but they
Okay.
brought in these specialized school, the IB
IB.
schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the all the different charter schools and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Charter schools are money makers, just like they privatize prisons. They're trying to privatize the public school system, and even with the school choice, you are putting so much pressure onto your child instead of trying to figure out how you can make the schools in your neighborhood up to par with other schools that are considered grade A schools. You're going to bus your child halfway across town, which means that they have to get up at least an hour or two earlier to catch the bus, and they're not coming back until the evening. What
Mm-hmm.
do you know what kind of stress that is on a
Look,
child?
my son right now, because the aviation school is all across, he has to get up at 4, right? Like 4:30, right?
Mhm,
Go over. He gets back at 5 o'clock. Like he's gone all day. Good thing
mhm,
that they don't have school on Fridays, so he's kind of chilling on Fridays. But it's he's like, I'm tired. Look, he loves the school, but I'm tired.
mhm,
You know, back in the day, Tracy, like teaching was like the profession. Like you like, oh, like everybody, especially
mhm,
little people like us, right? Because we weren't easily granted education. You had segregation and all this stuff. So like
mhm.
black parents was like, become a teacher, teach your folks, and you do this thing. So it
Yeah,
was this thing that everybody wanted to do. Now you're talking about, the Department of Education dismantling. You're talking about they already not getting paid what they're supposed to be getting paid, and you're talking
mhm,
about somebody having to deal with your kids all day. And then there's a drive. Okay, well, homeschool your kids, but you're talking about working class people, who cannot, who probably don't have a good education level, themselves,
exactly.
homeschooling kids who, how are you going to do that? Number one,
Mhm,
how can you not go to work because you got to go to work in order to take care of the kids? So
mhm,
it leaves us in a little bit of a mess. And you were saying something like, we brought in stream, we brought in STEM. Ain't nobody better, it's ain't nobody the better for it. And I think
mhm,
that this is like the administration, even though I have a whole lot of issues with it. I think that our inability as a community to show impact of those things
mhm.
is the major, and we really can't be mad about it. If you're pouring millions and millions of dollars into this thing, and this thing is continuing to show you that it is not working, why are we
Ex-
still doing it? I don't
Exactly.
care who the president is.
Mhm.
The thing is that all the schools in the state are still failing.
Yeah.
You got STEAM and STEM, and kids can't even read. You got to know how to read in order to even understand engineering.
Mhm,
So we're
mhm.
saying that we're doing these things. Our nonprofits are, oh, I'm going to do. When STEM came, Tracy, on the scene, like everybody and their mama want to start an organization for STEM. They didn't even know what they were doing. Oh, we want to do STEM because they said they fund STEM.
Yeah.
They said there's money for science, technology, engineering, math, and arts,
Yeah.
whatever. We gonna do that. Don't
Mhm,
know what you're doing. Like, okay, we're gonna do that thing because
mhm,
that's where they say money is going. And then at the end of the day, we got these after school programs, and we're going into the schools and we're trying to do this thing. But when report cards come or standardized testing scores are out here, or when we have to go somewhere and compete with somebody else, we are not making the grade. So what's the alternative?
Mhm.
The administration says, you know what, we just gonna throw that up and throw it in the trash because y'all ain't doing nothing with it.
'Cause it's not working.
Not working.
It's not working. There's a lot of aspects of education that just isn't working, and it's not working for a myriad of different reasons. Um, I can't remember what state it is that just I think it's Jersey that decided that teachers no longer needed to pass the standardized test to become licensed as teachers. And I'm just like, well, let's throw away the baby with the bathwater. We are already having issues, and Jersey has a lot of issues.
There
A
were.
friend of mine does education consulting, and she
Mhm.
goes to Jersey, and um, when she tells me what she's teaching them, the teachers, right, in the school system, I'm like, but we did that like 20 years ago.
Girl, I was
How do
talking
they not know this?
with my son's teacher about
Mhm,
math, right? So there's
mhm.
a certain way that I learn math
Me
that
too?
they're not learning math that way.
No.
And I said, well,
That's
this
the Common Core.
I'm like, this way is it's dumb because I
Yes.
think that this way puts your class behind.
Mhm,
So she and I
mhm.
had a little conversation about that, and she said, well, they won't allow me to do it your
The
way.
other way, right.
I'm like, girl, well, we gonna do it. Okay, he can do it your way, but we're gonna do it my way as well because
Well, when they do it your way, then they get it wrong.
yeah, that's what she was. And I was
Even though
like,
the
that's
answer is
not,
correct because he
yeah,
didn't go through the
all these
steps
little
that
steps.
they're teaching, it's wrong.
I was like,
Yeah.
girl,
Mhm.
this is how you do this. Well, we can't teach him how to do it
No.
that way until he's in sixth grade. And I'm like, but why?
Mhm.
Like, why you gotta wait
Because that's supposed
years?
to be the most simplistic way of teaching math and make them understand the reasoning behind of the steps.
Girl, bye.
That's what it's supposed to
Adam
do.
has two
I
apples.
know.
Look, that's
For
the issue.
instance, my daughter learned how to write cursive at 4,
Mhm.
right? And when she was 7, we changed schools because we moved to a different state. And when she went to her new school, it was a Catholic school, she went to her new school. She was in second grade, I want to say, at the time. Um, and she was the only person in the class who knew how to write in cursive. And the teacher made her stop writing in cursive because nobody else knew how to write in cursive. And it was a fear to the other kids. That is another problem in our education system because if you don't know how to write in cursive, then you don't know how to read in cursive. So when you see cursive, it looks like a foreign language to you. And all of the old documents in the United States are written in what? Cursive.
It's a trip. It's a trip. And for these organizations, we mentioned it, there are a lot of youth development organizations, like
Mhm.
of them. Most of them that I encounter are ones that are focusing on, increasing literacy
Yes.
rates or, helping kids to pass school or
Mhm.
doing the STEM thing. Um, I haven't seen anyone make significant impact. I'm just
No, I haven't either. So, and I think I know what the problem is. Most of the people who are starting a lot of these programs are not educators and they don't understand the fundamentals of education. So, if you have a bunch of people running nonprofits that are doing educational programs and they don't have a background in education, they don't understand the fundamentals of how people learn, they don't understand the various learning styles that people have. And a lot of people, whether they have been officially diagnosed or not, are somewhere on the spectrum,
mhm.
right? So you're having to understand and adapt your lessons and your teaching style to reach that particular child. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. And they're not bringing in teachers or having training programs for the people that they're hiring to adapt to these learning styles. So, yes, the kids are coming out every day. You're doing your thing, but what your thing is doing is not impactful. So you're just doing things all the time. I don't have any programs that I know that can show the impact ratio from this is where the child started and this is where the child ended as a growth,
Mhm.
right? You can show me like maybe they made 1 or 2 points, but I'm talking about getting
Mhm.
a child and doing those initial assessments,
Mhm.
right? and tailoring a plan for that child. Because if you're going to put a child in an after school program, it's because the child needs specific help in a specific area. So it can't be like a group thing and everybody's just doing the same thing. It needs to be more fundamental. And that brings me to micro schools. So don't let me forget to talk about micro schools. But that's one of the major issues I'm seeing with a lot of the after school programs. And we talk about mission drift as well. This is mission drifting because a lot of them are only starting nonprofits in these areas because it just seems like money is out there for this particular thing. But you're doing the kids as an injustice. And I always like to tell people you can start nonprofits, but it doesn't mean that you have to run it. Right? You can hire people to run your nonprofit, people who know what is happening in the area. You can have a passion for it and want to be behind it, so you can sit on the board or do something administrative for it. Even if you're the ED, but hire program managers that know exactly what they're doing, so that you can be effective and really help these kids. There's so many after school nonprofit based after school programs in underserved communities, but I'm not seeing the numbers to show
Mhm.
that they're being effective at all.
And
And
like
we need them, but I want you guys to be just more effective at what you're doing. Curriculums, most of them don't even have a curriculum. How are you deciding how these
that makes sense. Like they're just doing things.
right.
What? How
Yeah.
did you pilot this? Is this
No
reliable and
A/B testing, none of that. No.
nothing?
No beta testing of the to show, figure out where the gaps are and fill those gaps. But micro schools is another thing that has evolved from this. Um, and I think micro schools is going to continue to be a big thing in the educational industry. And when people saw micro schools starting to pop up, that should have been a ding, 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 ding.
Something about
Something is on the rise, right?
that.
Yes. When you saw that, you should have known that something is on the rise. And micro schools are like a cohort of 10 people, 10 kids, and they can get that individualized one-on-one attention that they need. There's some micro schools that are specific to children with cognitive challenges, because they can't. Sometimes the school system is not providing them with the special education needs that they should have. So there is a lot of areas for nonprofits to excel in the educational industry. You just have to do it right. I
Mhm.
always say if you don't know what you're doing, you actually end up doing more harm to the
Mhm.
population than you do any good. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And I mean, I think founder EDs especially just kind of have to realize that this is not about them. So,
Mhm.
because you can be the founder of something, and you're like, okay, I founded this organization, and this is my thing. So I'm going to be the one who operates this
Mhm.
nonprofit for kids and whatever, whatever. If I hadn't a clue about what I'm doing, I need to let
Right.
that go because it's not
Mhm.
about me. And I'm not just hurting my organization, I'm hurting all the other organizations that are trying to do the same thing.
Mhm.
Look at the collective of these youth development organizations. If one major organization comes up and it's failed, we're gonna look at all of them the same way. It's okay. Well,
Exactly.
we don't trust them. So let's pull this funding from them because that organization didn't know what they were doing. They're already
Mhm.
not going to give us any money, right? Look, that organization. So we don't trust them either because they're
No.
the same type of organization. So we're not going. Their birds with flat feather.
Mhm.
They're flocking together. So we're not going to give any of them any money. I'm concerned a little about rural communities, right? They're already not getting things, and
Yeah.
some of this stuff, even stuff that we've kind of worked with before for rural communities, kind of new, and they were just
Mhm.
kind of getting into this thing. I mean, even things like internet access, to help with they're just
Mhm.
getting into that. So what happens when the major organizations are out here not showing impact is, well, there's no use in doing this because whatever they produce is not generalizable. We can't do
Mhm.
what we did here, there, or if we did do it, it's gonna fail over there too. And
Right.
it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But I think it goes back to leadership,
It does.
understanding what your goals are for those people you serve,
Mhm.
where you're trying to make a difference. Because it's not enough to say I have a STEM program. Like, what is that about? Like
Mhm.
going in there and we're just what's happening. It's not enough to say I have a basketball program, which is going to play basketball.
Mhm.
Like, what is it? And a lot of
And that is true.
what it is.
A lot of people want to have these sports programs and don't have an educational component or a social emotional component added to it. It's not good enough for kids to be out there just playing ball. That's great. But what else comes along with it? Are you teaching health with it? Is it social emotional? Are you talking to them about finance? It has to be a compounded program that deals with things on various layers.
Mhm.
And okay, so you're a coach. You do basketball well. Maybe you played in college, high school, maybe even professional basketball, but there are other layers to
Mhm.
understanding, to letting the kids know that this is a great way to keep you off the streets, to help you to channel your energy, but it's also for me to show you how life works as well.
You don't
And
you
those areas that you don't know about, you bring it. There's so many people who are
somebody
experts,
yeah,
yeah, who will
somebody
come in and do it for free.
yeah.
So create a true curriculum that deals with the whole child, not just the component that you feel comfortable with either. Because it's just like any other program. Like I talked about running GED programs, and you think that you go there just to teach a GED program. So if I'm teaching English language arts in a GED program. That's it. That's all I'm showing up to do. Oh no, that is not it. They come with a myriad of problems. They are people. People have problems, and we have to be able to solve those problems. And I always talk about the GED programs where we would have to get bus passes. We learned that we had to get it. So you can't make that excuse that you don't have the money to get the bus to come. Then you make the excuse that, oh, I don't have anybody to take care of my kid. Okay, we work with the Department of Human Resources and we got them daycare vouchers. You know what I mean? So you have to look at the kids that are coming in to your programs as whole people. What
Mhm.
issues are they dealing with? And a lot of these after school programs too don't even take the time to realize that you need to be feeding these kids. If these kids are coming from uh, a certain type of community, um, which is disenfranchised or whatever you want to call it, more than likely breakfast at school if they got to school on time, lunch at school, they're probably not going to get dinner, and they're with you until about 6 o'clock. You should have in your budget something to give them, some type of a healthy type of snack or meal that they're not going hungry. That is another component that a lot of people don't take into consideration when they're running these after school programs.
And I thought, people were freaking out last week because, they were saying, hey, if this with this funding cut, free lunch and all this stuff would be kind of taken on.
Yeah,
Oh my God, like how are we gonna this is something that your organizations have to do with or without the support of the
the
federal government.
government. Yep.
Y'all gotta figure it
You
out.
got to make it work. And I think they've gotten so reliant on the government that they cannot see
Yep.
how an organization is going to be able to run without grants or any other type of governmental funding.
Hmm. And that's
And
a major problem because when you started this, you started it so that you could make a way. Like not so you could depend on the
who
government.
told you that?
That's why you're supposed to start it. Not so that you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing and the government is gonna take care of it.
Right.
I think that's what people
Yes.
thought. Like I'm gonna start
Well,
this.
I think that's the rhetoric that is being thrown around on a consistent basis. Is you start a nonprofit, oh my God, you're gonna be rich because you're gonna get all these grants. So yeah.
Yeah, giving donations to you. When I posted on Facebook, 'cause I was talking about I don't know what's going on in administration. They change something every day. Like
Mhm.
every 3 seconds, like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And there was an idea, that says, what if we stop federal income taxes, right? So you guys will
Mhm.
pay federal income taxes, and for me, I'm like, well, cool, that's great, because but
Mhm.
what happens when that happens? Well, you might think you're great for a minute, but then inflation, and you got to pay for all this stuff. But what about your donors who were given
Mhm.
to your organization because they thought they were going to get a tax cut, and now,
Mhm.
or if something like that happens and you don't have impact to show, you haven't given them a good reason to support you, other than the fact that you get a tax write-off. Why
Mhm.
would they still support you? They probably won't.
Right.
So what are you doing now to show that, hey, my organ every dollar that we're asking for, we're worth it. And what other work are you doing, Tracy? You talk about diversifying like every day, all day in your sleep, waking up. Like y'all supposed to have like all these streams of revenue, and you're
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to be looking at grant money because they can turn that on and off like a faucet.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a big grant, you wait a couple of months before you even get the funding. If you did get the funding and you don't have the capacity to operate with anything else, you're gonna have to be over here putting all your time doing this thing, and then next year you ain't got the funding and you ain't got no more money and you ain't got no relationships, you ain't done nothing, and now you're still in a hole because you didn't have the capacity to even serve in that grant.
Right.
So what are these other things that you're going to be doing? Like even now, even with you having to feed kids, what if USDA, what if the president says, you know what, we don't, ain't none of that no more. We don't care about that and the list
Mm-hmm.
move, all that stuff. Your organization still exists to do that thing, still
Mm-hmm.
exists to take care of the community, still exists to provide an after school lunch for kids. And how you going to get it? If you have not developed a plan that you have the capacity to execute, it's not gonna happen. Y'all gonna have it's gonna all shut down. I don't want to scare
Mm-hmm.
people, right? Because this is
Mm-hmm.
about surviving the shift. But
Yeah.
if you're struggling now
Mm-hmm.
with the resources, imagine how you're gonna struggle when those resources are in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
What is your plan? What's the backup plan? What's the thing? Most people don't have one.
They don't have one. And that's kind of where we come in, right? Holding their hand through the process to help them to develop the plan where you're not completely reliant on the government, right? And you may say, oh, okay, this is just for the next 4 years. And then someone else is going to come in and it's going to be back to normal. It will never be back to normal because it will take that person's, it may be back to
It's gonna take them three,
normal
4 years
in
straight.
about 10 years, right? But it takes time to undo things that have been done, right? And that's why usually you have like a 3 year cycle. But if this presidency is in for 4 years, even if we get a Democratic president in the next go round, it's going to take that Democratic president those entire 4 years to undo, and maybe more to undo what has happened in these 4 years. So you have to look at becoming self reliant. And like I said the last time, building relationships, building collaborations and partnerships with other nonprofits. This is not something you can do in a silo. This is not about, oh, people are going to steal my intellectual property or whatever it is that you want to say that people are going to do. That's not what this is about. This is about making sure that your organization stays mission centered and that you are doing what it is that you set out to do. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have donors or any other type of income coming in, your nonprofit is going to shut down. And
And
that's what we don't want to happen. We
it
don't
is
want that you, yeah, we don't want that you end up losing your nonprofit because the available free funds are no longer available to you. We have to pivot and find another way. This is like COVID all over again. Just thinking about it that way, right? And during that time, during the pandemic, you had to learn how to pivot. You had to figure out something new, something different to stay afloat. And this is the same thing. You have to adapt to the shift, surviving the shift.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, we don't evolve enough. You're talking about, the education program and feeding and stuff. I remember when reducing obesity among
Mhm.
kids was like this
It's a
huge.
big thing. Yeah.
And I think this is when a lot of the youth development, sports stuff, and
Hmm.
all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. Okay, we're just gonna run 'em around and stuff, and they're gonna, lose weight and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
we got stuck right there, and we didn't move with the next thing.
No.
So what's the next thing? Okay, well, we got kids have mental health concerns. Kids have, there's 50,000 other things, conflict resolution, and whatever that comes with
Mhm.
this package of this kid, this whole person that we
Mhm.
forget about. And we go, okay, I'm just gonna have a sports program, and then we're gonna run them outside and we're gonna do this. Or
Mhm.
we're gonna keep them after school and we're gonna hold them up in a gym. And
Yeah.
we got and that's why we're not getting the funding for it. Because
Mhm.
there's stuff, there's like I said, there's layers to this thing, and we get
Yeah.
stuck with one piece. Like we don't want the whole cake. We just get like the layer at the bottom. Okay, I just want that
Mhm.
because it has frosting
And
on both.
see, and this is where it goes back to what I said about the collaborations and partnerships. So that person who started the program, we're doing hypotheticals, right? That person who started the program wherein they were doing sports, they wanted kids to, be healthy and burn off the fat and calories and whatever. That's all they knew, right? And that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a bad thing. All they knew was coaching. So they probably were a gym teacher or something, right? And so they knew how to do that. Then they should have known how to do health too, but let's say they didn't know how to do health, but they knew how to get some work in and for those kids to become physically active. This is where they didn't even need to start a nonprofit
Right.
organization,
Yes.
right? They
Yes.
could have gone out and joined forces with an already existing nonprofit organization and create that holistic program that we're talking about, that layered program. So I have a after school program. I have a nonprofit existing already that has an after school program. Oh, come on over here. Let's join forces. So we got the health component, or we have the physical health component. We can bring in somebody else, a retired nurse or something, to teach nutritional health. We have the math, science, whatever else there. And then maybe we want to add finance. We bring in guest speakers. One nonprofit, you got to be able to work together. Everybody wants their own. You have to be able to work together to make it work. And that's the only way that it's going to work if you're going to survive this shift.
That's an excellent example because
Hmm.
that's a perfect example of how you mobilize. Like we need to
Hmm.
you gotta connect the dots. If you're doing this little piece and I'm doing that little piece and she's doing that little piece, let's
Hmm.
get together and do it together. Because when you're talking about reductions in funding, there's going to be a fight for it. Competition is already there. Like funding is already competitive.
Yeah.
But when you're saying, "Hey, we're going to do away with $1 trillion," like this is what they're saying, right? We're going to
Hmm.
do away with $1 trillion with a TR, $1 trillion. You think competition is going to be low? No. So what if we just got together as a collective and say, "Hey, let us do that. Not y'all can't be a mess now. You can't be a whole mess.
Hmm.
You get work internally on your thing first, so that you can be strong enough to partner."
Hmm.
Nobody wants to carry the burden of a bad partner.
No.
Nobody wants to do that. Like your
Hmm.
organization, if you have a sports league, and like Tracy said, you probably didn't even have to create a nonprofit for that. Some of y'all are bringing unnecessary issues to yourself because
Hmm.
you didn't have to do that.
Hmm.
You could have just got an AU club and y'all could play basketball and be all right and go on about your business
Right.
and go,
Right.
whatever. If you wanted to bring somebody in to be a guest speaker at your practice, hey, can y'all come in and talk to us? You didn't
Hmm.
have to do it like this. But like you said, when we got here, a lot of folks did that because somebody said start a nonprofit, you
Hmm.
know, whatever. Or somebody went to Walmart and wanted some water, and Walmart says you gotta have and they asked Walmart, "Can you donate some water to our thing?" And Walmart said, "Well, can I see your determination letter?" You go, "Oh, I need to start a nonprofit." Y'all out here starting nonprofits on water.
Instead of just going to an already existing nonprofit and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Can we work together to achieve this common goal?
Or instead of just buying a dang on water. like some
That too.
sometimes
That
you don't need
too.
a donation. Sometimes you don't even
Yeah.
need a donation. I mean,
Hmm.
just go buy the water and
Hmm.
it'll save yourself a lot of time.
Yeah.
Probably ain't got to be, it ain't got no funding since you got the water. Got the water,
Hmm.
$4 or whatever. You pay for the 501(c)(3. You're trying to pay for your Zoom account and all of this
Hmm.
for a case of water. You could have just bought the water.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. Y'all
Yeah.
got to survive the shift, though. We only talked about education today and those things, but I think that there are a lot of different programs that are going to be affected during this
And
time.
education is definitely, he's been saying it, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that it happens, because you guys have to stop saying, I'm part of the most educated group.
Y'all got to shut up.
No, I mean, but we are, and I am one of those
You can
people,
cry.
you know. But
No.
I always knew, once I heard the statistics, I said, oh God, they coming for us.
They coming. 'Cause that can't be. That cannot
No.
be. Like, are you
Mm-mm.
ready? And we are, like, and we could, like I said, because that was a thing. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
you got to get education because it was withheld, or we felt like as a
Right.
community, like that was,
Education was the number one thing pushed
yeah,
in my household.
yeah.
Like failure was
You gonna
not an
get it.
option.
You gonna
Okay?
Yeah, you gonna get it. That's over
Yeah.
here right now in 2025. I don't care what else the boys got going. Look, you gonna do this schooling because you're not gonna be a
Yeah.
dummy. Like that's what
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't. However you do it, I mean,
Mhm.
you ain't got to make all A's. That's not what I'm judging this on.
Mhm. Mhm.
You gonna
Mhm.
get through this process. You gonna be at a minimum. You ain't gonna be no dummy. We gonna know that.
Mhm.
You gonna
Mhm.
know how to read. You gonna know how to comprehend because they told us. If we weren't allowed to read, it's okay.
Mhm.
Once you get this book and it opens up all these things that you've been missing out on. So as
Mhm.
people, we're like, okay, we got to do this, and this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
And I guess the
Oh, I'm
book.
back to micro schools.
Mhm,
So if education does become compromised, right? Micro schools are not free. You have to pay for them. Who do you think are going to be occupying those micro schools? It's not going to be you
mhm,
and people that look like you and I, right? It's going to be other people or people who look like you and I who are in the financial way of being able to afford it,
mhm.
right? So most people are not going to be able to stay home to homeschool. We've homeschooled. My daughter graduated from homeschool. You homeschooled two of your kids.
Yeah.
I was going to three, but I was two.
I was so glad, and it's been different, and this is the thing because I've had like all these things go on, right? Because Lexi
Mhm.
has been home, she's been private school. Alex has been private school,
Mhm.
homeschool. Alex, he went straight to school. Like it's like what plus look, and it was a fight. He did not want to go,
Mhm.
but I could not.
Nope.
I understand. Like the parents are like, okay, well,
Mhm.
not everybody can homeschool. Not every
Right.
kid. I knew Alex, like my middle kid. I knew that homeschool was going to be his thing, right? Because
Mhm.
he ain't like his mama on a regular day. He don't be like people. He like, girl, look, like let me do my thing right here. I
Mhm.
mean, really smart. Alec was a whole different personality, though. I'm like,
Mhm.
I didn't. It was probably me. I
You
want
didn't wanna be bothered all
to
day.
deal with him in at homeschooling, and I'm working
Mhm.
from home, so I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
he was gonna be the kid, even though I work from home with my with the second one. He didn't bother me though. He's like, okay, mama's doing her work, I'm doing my work, and then we kind of come together and we make sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Alec is like banging on the door, like this is before you even school age. So look, I know you got to go to school, bro,
Yeah.
because we're not. So, but
And
what?
see, I've done the whole gamut too. Like my son went through private school and public school. My daughter never went to public school. She only did private school and then from private school to homeschooling. So I understand and I've taught
Yeah, and you
on
taught.
both those levels
You've
as
done
well.
all of it. Like you've done I taught other
Yeah.
people's kids. I've taught
Yeah.
my kids or whatever.
Mhm.
I know for the regular kind of working class parent, though, some of the options that we had, they don't have.
No.
I got, if I got to go to work from 8 to 5,
Mhm.
and my kid is 6 years old, I got to put
You
him.
can't homeschool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when homeschooling is not even as easy as it seems for some people, because coming from a classroom background, it was hard when I first started. I was like, oh, heck no, I can't do this, right? Because I was trying to structure homeschool like I did my classroom, and that don't work. I
Mm-mm.
had to learn how to unschool and use every interaction that we had as a
Yes.
moment for
Come on.
teaching.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's how I decided to homeschool. It was life because I was traveling a lot too. So she would travel with me. So she's been all over the place to different business meeting, networking meeting. Da-da. So her school was everywhere we went
Yep.
was school. Grocery store. Let's add up these
Yep.
groceries before we get to the counter, right? If this has this amount of ounces, this has this amount of ounces, and this costs this and this costs that, which one is cheaper, which one is more economical for us to buy. So everything became a teachable moment,
Mhm.
and most people cannot do that, right? So you're either going to have to do school choice, you're going to have to do micro schools, or now they're talking about taking away the child labor laws. They're going to put your kids out to
Yeah,
work.
13 out there. getting them collard picking greens because they're gonna put them in the field. I ain't
Listen,
gonna talk about why, but they gonna put them in the
yeah,
field and they
but
gonna be out there.
hopefully there are some clauses, some loopholes that they can, get into that can stop some of this stuff from happening. But I think 150 executive orders since the 20th of January is absolutely
And
insane.
there
But
are
that's to distract you, you
yeah,
know?
that's what it is. It's to distract because there are some things
Mhm.
you just can't sign. You just can't say, okay, I'm gonna put my pen on this and this, that, and
Right.
this. So don't. This is why I always, don't be scared. Be prepared because some of that stuff,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just frighten you and to get you in this
Yeah.
place
And
of.
to overwhelm the court system
Mm-hmm,
because they can't listen to all those cases. I mean, it'll take years before all those cases were
mm-hmm,
ever held. So it's going to be okay. What are we going to pass through
mm-hmm,
that we can without dealing with the court system and what actually has to go to court?
mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of things happening, and you just have to be vigilant. You have to, like Ty says, stay aware or stay prepared so that when anything happens,
Yeah.
that
If
you're ready to go.
you're scared, you're gonna act um,
Hmm.
without processing, and you
Hmm.
end up with something that didn't. I was talking to somebody last night about set asides, right? You're talking about funding, and I was like, well,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
this stuff you have to go through certain processes
Hmm.
in order for it to
That's
happen.
me.
That's what I mean. Like who
Yeah, no, that's
some of that stuff. But you just kind of be aware. And as a nonprofit, though, whatever your mission is,
Mhm,
you want to understand how these things, these executive orders, or these proposed executive orders, or these proposed changes, how they affect
mhm,
your mission and what you are doing now. So, is there anything in your mission that's going to be affected by that? We talked about DEI a little bit, DIA a little bit
mhm,
last week. Does that affect, especially if you're getting federal funds or if you're getting pass-through funds or if you are one of these
mhm,
organizations where, like Tracy said, we're walking out here and saying, "Oh, we're some of the most educated people." Then blah blah blah. So I'm walking out here with my little black girl face and my little nappy hair, and I'm like, "Okay, like this is what." Is it something in your mission that draws that kind of attention to you? Not saying
right,
that you have to pull it back, but
mhm,
it's going to direct where you can go for support. So you
mhm.
know what these changes mean to you and what they mean to your organization without selling out your mission.
Can I talk about one thing when you're talking about that?
I'm just gonna say something about my nappy hair. But go.
Oh, no, no, no.
Can I say nappy?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I won't do that. When you're talking about that, it just reminds me of a rant that I wanted to go on. So I think I'm gonna go on it here. Please, guys, stand on business, okay? Stop mission drifting.
Filling
I
out.
see so many nonprofit organizations pulling back everything, like
Filling out.
wiping their social media clean of DEI. The word DEI does not show up anywhere on their social media or on their websites. And that's what their nonprofits were founded on. So because he says that social media is, I mean, DEI is not no more, you completely abandoned mission.
Filling out.
So we don't need diversity, equity, and inclusion anymore. You're so afraid
Mm-hmm.
that you have rolled back everything. You don't even want to say the word no more. It's like a taboo now. Come on. What are you out here for? When you chose to do this is because you saw a cause that you wanted to champion,
Mm-hmm.
right? And most of the causes in the nonprofit realm, unless they're health related, and even then you still have DEI because diversity, equity, and inclusion is not about Black people. Okay, let's stop that. It's not about us. It's about
Everybody.
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 Okay,
Mhm.
everybody. Diversity and equity inclusion. My glasses make me need some inclusion in certain things, right? Because in some places this could be considered a disability,
Mhm.
right? People that have physical disabilities, all races. Do you know? And I'm sure you've heard the statistics, but I've always known this because I always say them. People want to debate me, but now I think everybody's accepting that the people who were most most of the beneficiaries of a DEI were not us.
Right.
It wasn't
I
us.
know who they were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't us.
Mhm.
We just get out here and we grind and work for
We're
what we
actually
want.
at the bottom. Like we're on
Mhm.
the bottom of
The
the
totem pole, the
last
last
one we've been.
recipients of DEI is us. It's not us.
Mhm.
Okay. So you don't need to scrub it. We still need equity and inclusion in everything that we do. So if you have a sports league, that doesn't mean that you don't bring in someone who has a disability into the sports league. You make adjustments for them. That is all part of it. It's about read, create, race, nationality, and physical disabilities.
Mhm.
That's what DEI actually meant. So I don't want you guys to be shying away from DEI. If that's what you say you do, and that's what your nonprofit does, whether it be the educational nonprofit or any other industry in the nonprofit sector, stand on business. This is not time for you to tuck your tail and run away.
Mhm. We selling out. We selling out our mission
Yeah.
for a couple dollars. Like you know, if you give me a couple dollars, I'm gonna stop saying that. Forgetting what it was that you were founded upon.
Mhm.
Just out here, just a sellout.
Again, it's that mission drifting.
Hmm.
It's that mission drifting. You just drifting with the tide. Oh, DNI ain't it no more? Okay, let's get rid of all the DNI stuff. You
Money
can't say
chasing,
DNI.
money chasing dollars. This is why we're not successful because
Mhm,
we're going wherever we see the shiny penny.
mhm,
We never were true to our missions. We start, and this is how you really determine who started this organization to be the help that they say they want to be, or who started it
mhm.
because they thought they were going to get a check from the government.
Yeah.
Those people who started it because they thought they were going, somebody said start a nonprofit, get grant money, whatever, however the wind blow, they were going with it. Okay,
Mhm,
well, we gonna do this. You ever seen somebody this month they're doing STEM, next month they're doing
mhm,
next month they're doing race cars? Like what
mhm,
y'all doing?
mhm,
We don't know. We just looking for whoever, whatever funded, whatever we can get some
mhm.
money from, and that's why you're struggling.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I
So again, that's what surviving the shift is about. It's about trying to help you to navigate these uncertain times and make sure that you can keep your nonprofit afloat. We do have a Facebook group called Surviving the Shift. We do um, invite you to go join it, share it with some other people. Let's have some conversations in there and see how we can help you to make sure that you're able to survive this shift in
mhm.
your nonprofit, because if you don't do something, your nonprofit will close, or you'll be one of those people who's emptying out your retirement and savings account to keep the organization afloat, and then you're going to be in need of a nonprofit services. That don't make sense to me.
Survive or
I
die.
don't know if it does to you, Ty, but it don't make no sense to
It don't
me.
make no sense. Survive or die. That's gonna be
Right.
right.
So let's help you join the group Surviving the Shift. It's a Facebook group. And let's keep the conversation going.
All right, y'all. See y'all next time.
Bye.